Welcome, everyone. We had a few technical difficulties there, but we've gotten them sorted out. I think we're still working on our sound. That's what happens when we spend a whole, week, 2 weeks away from this room. Everything goes haywire. All the gremlins come in and mess with all of our stuff. But welcome to the 5,362nd meeting of the Rotary Club of San Jose. Time is flying by. Presidents aren't supposed to show any partiality, but I would like to thank the members of one of my favorite committees, the Lee Weimer's Emerging Artist Awards, for greeting us in the greeting line. Of course, that committee is chaired by Sarah Klish, and we'll be hearing from her in a little bit. But at this time, I would like to invite our red badgers with the traveling microphones to please make themselves known and introduce themselves. And I'm going to start over here on my right.
State house left, stage right.
I can never remember that.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm Chris Burrell, director Hammer Theater, operated by San Jose State University. There you go. And my sponsor is Jason Alexander, Associate Dean of Humanities and the Arts.
Fantastic, Chris. Thank you. And over to my left, Anna.
Happy lunchtime, everybody. My name is Anna Rudell. I'm the medical director for Rokahi Acupuncture, and my sponsor is Karen Philbrick, who's not here today.
Okay, thank you, Anna. So, as is our custom, if visiting Rotarians and guests could please stand so you may be introduced. Start with you, Maggie.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I have a guest here today, as you could see. Her name is Emily Nakajima, and she's with History San Jose, working with Bill Shroud.
Fantastic. Great to see you again, Emily.
Okay, me.
Yes, you did.
Thank you, President Sal. James Williams, CFO with Opera San Jose, and we have quite a few representatives today that I'm proud to introduce. First is Jillian Moran. Jillian is the president of the board of directors for Opera San Jose, and she's a former mayor of the city of Saratoga.
Welcome.
Next, Jane Decker. Jane is also a board member and served as the deputy county executive of Santa Clara County.
Jane.
Next, we have Miss Peggy Hyman. Peggy's a longtime board member and supporter of the opera, and she's a retired technical manager from a major high-tech company. And here I have Mr. George Crow, a very long-time board member of Opera San Jose. He's a retired engineer, which is a very modest understatement. He was a key part of founding a major tech company that's named after a fruit here in the valley. And lastly, we have Mr. Tom Mulger. So Tom just joined Opera San Jose this summer at the director level, moving from New York City, where he ran an arts education nonprofit. And for the past 10 years, he's professionally sang with the Metropolitan Opera Chorus.
Wonderful to have you all here. Dick Conniff, great to see you.
Hi, President Sal, Dick Conniff, and it's my pleasure to introduce my friend Bunny Layden. Bunny's also retired from Apple, but she's a colleague of mine on the Symphony San Jose board.
Fantastic, great to have you here.
President Sal, Ed Correa, I am pleased to reintroduce my friend Lauren Edwards of, I screwed up again, Gomez, Edwards, and Lockhart. They're a family law. Lauren has been so excited about our club. This is her third time guesting for lunch, and she was at our barbecue.
Wonderful, great.
And her application's been submitted.
We love to hear that. Great to have you here. Chris? Nope. Anyone else? All right. We're moving on now to, let me invite Dave Davis, president of our foundation board, to come to the stage and talk to us about our annual campaign. Dave.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Time to grab your wallets. Okay, here we go. So the annual campaign kickoff starts in the next few weeks. Every year at this time, we launch our annual donation drive, and you're going to be receiving a letter in the next week or so that will include our annual report, which is on your table. And then per our membership application, I'm required to say this, your participation in this campaign is required, as this is how we fund our service work. And that's the cool part of Rotary, if you think about it. Okay, so and this is, we're going to get a little nerdy here on taxes, but the tax status of the Rotary Club of San Jose and the Rotary Club of San Jose Foundation are different. So your dues for the club help run the operation of the club, and then our foundation is where all our charitable work gets done. And your gifts to that are tax deductible. Tom Bondi required me to say that. Okay, and there's that. And then, so your annual funds that we request are $400. And where does that start? So $100 of it goes to Paul Harris, and that's international. And a lot of those funds, a good portion of those funds that we donate come back to us for international projects that we're doing. So that's kind of cool. And then the next two parts, there's $100 for the permanent foundation. And as you can imagine, it's permanent, and we use the earnings off that to fund our charitable endeavors. And then the last part is our operating account, and that really funds the funding of the community grants, helps fund that throughout the year on an annual basis. So if you think about that, it's $400, and what is that? That's a couple of Starbucks a week, right? Or whatever coffee shop you go to, or maybe it's one chicken sandwich a week, Jaime. So there you go. But so this is the minimum that we request. And we all are part of organizations that make asks for us, but this money is really well invested into our community, as you'll see here in a moment. So the grants that we did this year are to these organizations. And these are just some of them, but it's amazing what we do on an annual basis to me. And this is really, again, the cool part of Rotary. We're making an impact by changing lives, by making donations to these organizations. And then we also fund our committees. And our committees, it's incredible what we do. I mean, think about last year, just spontaneously what we did with the Ukraine, and we continue to do. And it's really, this is where we donate our time in various committees, and then it's funded on an annual basis, and so your money is well spent. In addition, Sal gets to spend $25,000 for speaker honoraria, community projects. Special projects arise all the time, come to his attention, and he chooses to spend the money accordingly. Okay, and then onward, the next big project that's being worked on. There's a big committee doing work on that. They meet almost every other week, and it's in the process of determining what that's going to be and how that's funded. What we're doing is $50,000 a year is being set aside, and then also some of the surplus is set aside for that as well. You're going to be getting an update next week from Vince on that. Vince and Sari, he heads the committee. So appreciate all your support. Watch your mail for a request for donation. Again, the minimum is $400. You can always give more, and 2 Starbucks a week, you can do it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. And I just want to add on that as a Rotary president, and Karen Philbrick's going to be understanding this as president-elect, at the Rotary International level and at the district level, they keep track of who's donating and how clubs do. And they've been hammering us for the past few years that our donation participation level has been dropping steadily. We used to be in the 80s, and now we're in the close to 50%. So they would love to see our club participate more in terms of donations. Our monetary donations have stayed relatively stable, though, so that's great news. And as Dave mentioned, a lot of that money comes back to us every 3 years later to work on our own projects. Okay, next I'd like to invite Bill Shroud to come on up, and we're going to have a look back with Bill Shroud. Bill.
Thank you, President Sal. All right, so a look back this week is another building at History Park. We're going to take a look at O'Brien's Ice Cream and Candy Shop. So O'Brien's has rumored to be the first place that served ice cream west of Detroit in California. O'Brien's was founded in 1868 by Maurice O'Brien, an Irish immigrant, and he had $500 in his pocket. He began his business in the doorway of the Pacific Hotel, and his business grew rapidly. He eventually got locations. His first location was right there, in a cart that he went around the city to sell his ice cream and his candies. His first permanent location was in 1874 at 30 South Street, and it would be the home of the store for the next 53 years. And you can see that's the lettering that we use at History Park for the candy store that we have. It was on 30th South 1st Street. This is their second location that they moved into 1928, the permanent location for the end. It was 223 South 1st Street, and it remained the location until 1956. Under the leadership of Maurice's son Charlie, it grew from making candy to include a soda fountain, a restaurant, and bakery, and it was famed throughout the West. Like we think See's Candies today, O'Brien's was on the See's level before the business closed in 1956. O'Brien symbolized nothing but the best to those interested in the newest and fanciest fountain drinks and concerned with the special attention given to the making and serving of novel ices and ice creams. When it first moved to 223 South 1st Street, it became the most expensive and most elaborate than any other soda fountain in the city. Yeah. And it's funny, the building is being currently renovated. And when they took down the drop ceiling, they found that tin ceiling still in place. And the builder has donated it to History Park. So we will be putting it into our replica O'Brien's eventually, which is very cool. They also had an ice cream factory in town. This is their ice cream factory. Then by the 1930s, the O'Brien's not only was a soda fountain, a restaurant, and bakery, but it also featured a bar called the Little Room. I didn't realize this. It's not just ice cream. They also had a cocktail lounge. Like that, where? Yeah. Yeah, exactly, right? I was like, wait a minute. So not only could you go to the ice cream shop next door and get the O'Brien's Aristocrat, which was vanilla brick ice cream, hot fudge dressing, ground nuts, whipped cream, and cherry on top, or the O'Brien Special, which was vanilla and strawberry ice cream, orange ice, mixed fruit and marshmallow topping, assorted nuts and whipped cream. But you could also go next door to the Little Room and get a whiskey sling, a gin Ricky, or a pink lady. So I found this anonymous quote, which is just great. It said, "The prettiest and most attractive candy store on the Pacific Coast. O'Brien's Candy was more than a business in San Jose. It was an institution, the natural place to stroll after a show or their ideal place to meet a friend. It became a great place for the girls of Notre Dame High School to meet the boys from Bellarmine." So the last remodel, as you can see, the neon sign. I want to know where that neon sign went. You know, we have an obsession with neon signs at History Park. I'd love to find where that sign went. Today, O'Brien's is on the comeback. We have our O'Brien's replica at History Park, but we've teamed up with Treebot Ice Cream, and they've taken over they're going to start making their ice cream in our O'Brien shop at History Park. And O'Brien's name is going to be rebranded in the Treebot name as well.
I love it when you tell me things I didn't know, and I'm really excited about that tree partnership. Thank you, Bill Shroud. So next, I'd like to hear from, as I said, one of my favorite committees, the Lee Weimer's Emerging Artists Awards. Sarah Klisch, why don't you come up and tell us what we're going to be doing next month?
Hurry. I am super excited about October 12th. I hope you all are as well, because we're going on a field trip, as I said last week or week before last. We're going to the Hammer Theater. Woo, 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 woo. And we have 4 amazing artists, 3 of whom are actually comfortable with public speaking, which Lisa Millette says is unusual for us, so that bodes well. And for those of you who have attended this program before, you know that you're going to learn a great deal and your hearts are going to be touched, right? For those of you who have never experienced this program before, please come with an open mind and an open heart, because your experience will be amazing. I will guarantee it. Logistics are, I've had questions. How is this working? Are we getting lunch? Yada, yada. Yes. All of the above. So first off, lunch will be ordered the same way you order it now. So the bulletin comes out on Friday. You have to click the link. You order your lunch. It will be a boxed lunch. I strongly recommend that you get there by 11:45. Tables will be set out in the plaza outside of the theater. You cannot eat in the theater. You need to have your lunch done before the program starts at 12:15. Okay, program lasts an hour like normal. You'll be out on the same time frame. We also have an Eventbrite website where you can actually send it out to encourage other people who are not part of Rotary. We want as many people in that theater as possible. And so you can send out the Eventbrite as an invitation. It gives all the details. It doesn't cost them a dime. They cannot order lunch. So if you want somebody to have lunch with you, you need to order their lunch for them as a regular Rotary process, okay? You too can RSVP via the Eventbrite system. It will kind of give us a better idea about who's coming. We'd like to know, just for logistics and flow and that kind of thing. You can go onto Eventbrite and just put in Lee Weimer's and it'll come up, or the link is over there on the banner. We'll also send it out in the bulletin, so you can use that tool as well. So yes to lunch, but you must order it in the normal process. Field trip, so parking different, plan ahead. Get there earlier than normal so you can eat your lunch before you go into the theater to enjoy the program that will run from 12:15 to 1:15, and we'll have you out on time. All right? Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And up next, we've got Matt Bell, our membership chair, to give us a little update on membership. Matt.
Thank you, President Sal. Great update this month, just like last month. We are off to a fantastic start, I've got to say. You all are doing a great job of doing what? Literally just asking someone, are they interested in learning more about Rotary, maybe coming to a meeting? They learn more, almost inevitably, they are going to be very interested in joining the club. So you can see just here at the end of September, we already have 16 new members. How about a round of applause for that? And the following folks here have been very active in recruitment here. And I just want to recognize them. If you're here today, please stand. If you're on Zoom, please raise your hand on Zoom. But I want to recognize Sarah Klisch, Dick Conniff. I see Dick here, I think. Steve Prouty with 2 new members. Michael Fulton, and I think that is his son who's joining, which is fantastic. There we go. And Sandra and Tim Gill. Connie Alvarez, Ray Castaneda, and James Williams. So just thank you all for your... So in addition to supporting your efforts in recruitment and vetting the applications as they come in, we are doing some other things as well. I want to let you know that we're really taking a look at the application, making sure that that is as easy and clear and effective as it can be. As well as addressing some other policy issues like the 10% cap issue and others. So we've got subcommittees working on that. We'll be reporting those into the board and back to you in the future. So again, thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Matt. Now, as you guys may remember, last week we had a pretty big event, the large club conference, and two amazing leaders, Cindy Faulkner and Carl Salas, going to come up here and give us a really fun recap on that event.
All right. Find your Rotary way in San Jose. That was our theme, and oh, what an amazing conference that we had. We're just honestly humbled and honored by all the praise coming in from all sides. I mean, our club, all the other clubs that attended. It was an endeavor that it was tremendous, and it wasn't just work, it was great work by our team. We want to give you an overview of what it was like, the experience our attendees had, the amazing talent of our club, just the fun 3 days. At the airport, we started out, Maggie's team greeted, Steve made round trips both days. The team blew them away with hospitality. And I think we moved 100 people twice. The hotel, Helen Lambert and the team, they worked so hard. Seamless is the best word that I can describe those 2 days at the hotel. And then Sunday evening, we kicked it off at the Capitol Club. We hosted all attendees that seemed to make it, and it was amazing. Carl?
For all you who don't know the large club conference, we brought in from all over the country the president-elects and the executive directors of the largest Rotary clubs in the country. And can you imagine how great it was to show off our city and our club? It was a real show off. And we started at the Capitol Club. Bert was pouring wine. We had 120 people walk in at once, and it was wonderful. People were so happy, and it was a beautiful night at the Capitol Club, as you know. Do you have also a Capitol Club? Yep, there you go. Everybody was so happy, and again, Bert brought the best stuff, as he always does. We had a hospitality suite that night. Thank you very much to Kaiser and Carla Lomax if you're here, but thank you so much. We had a hospitality suite. After all that wine and that beautiful view, they came back to a hospitality suite at the Signia, and again, it was packed, and it was wonderful, and people were so happy the first night. Moved down to the next day. We started out that we had Steve did his Rotary moment. We had Jeremy opening up. Jeremy is always wonderful, playing the piano. Sal was doing full-time. Sal had a full-time job for 3 days in addition to his full-time job, and he was spot on. We got to, there they are. Oh, we had Sam there too. Sam opened up the whole thing. Go up to the lunchtime now, right, Cindy? Yeah. So now we're at lunch. Sal's still full-time, and we got to interview the morning session. Sorry, we had the president, we had a couple of past presidents do a fabulous, if I knew then what I know now. And it was so well received by all the president-elects. Wonderful, wonderful thing. Let's see, we had Jeremy and Nicholas open with God Bless America. We haven't sung in a long time. It was really fun having everybody sing. Let's see, whose Rotary moment was that? That was Steve B's Rotary moment? Karen. Oh, it was Karen's Rotary moment, yes. And then I got to interview the Zoom CMO. It was just, for me, it was a real thrill, and everyone was so jazzed to have Zoom looking out the window, seeing the Zoom headquarters, and then having the Zoom CMO there. It was just a wonderful way to show off. That afternoon, we had a DEI session with Sarju, Sal, and Irma. Again, wonderful and very topical for our president-elects. And then we went that night and had a block party at Block Construction. If any of you have not been to Block's office, it is off the charts wonderful. Again, very unique for San Jose. The president-elects and executive directors from all over the country really couldn't believe what we have here. And sometimes I forget too. Anyway, I'm going to turn it back to Cindy.
Few more pictures of Block. It was amazing. And all of a sudden we were at day 2. This thing went by so fast. It was unbelievable. Jeremy made every meal just so welcoming with his beautiful music. And then of course, Sal, he welcomed people for the 5th time. He wasn't done yet. Mike Block was our 3rd Rotary moment. And then John Baird, some of you remember him. He was amazing. His line for an autograph and photo spoke for itself. And, then we moved on to more sessions, which was what this business was all about. Fun and mirth, Brian and Jay, engagement and retention, Karen Sinanu-Towery, and off to lunch. We had this spectacular lunch with Chef Martin Yan, and I wish everybody could be there, but there are videos, so please get up and watch those videos. We had a special music performance thanks to James Williams. And then Carl, he presented our last Rotary moment. A little bit Chef Yan here. We got to go back into the kitchen, and the Signia actually made the salad that he was demoing, so that was even more special. Now, check out this clip.
Come on, one cut, another cut, turn this on. One cut, hold on the back, hold it this on, push, the curve comes out like that, hold it this on, comes out.
So he
like
holds
that,
the Guinness
on this
World
side, comes out
Record
like that,
for
turn it on the
deboning
outside,
a chicken,
it's done,
and
push
thank
it,
you
it comes out,
so
like
much to
that,
Matt,
hold it,
Roden,
this
and
comes
John
out, like that,
During
last
for
one
making
in,
this
comes out
happen.
like that.
This is Matt holding that video. 18 seconds is the record, by the way. So later, we had our evening events for our finale, and that's the play garden. Our guests were climbing, spinning, sliding. They were welcomed by Sal and Julie. It was amazing. Lots of fun. Then on to our barbecue, history park, and Gordon House tours. The mingling with our club was enjoyed by all. The Red Badgers, thank you, the barbecue chefs. Great food, great service above self, always. But again, it wasn't over. Back to the hospitality suite for a packed evening of thank yous and goodbyes and all the new friends that we made. It's really hard to tell you, we were a little intimidated, to say the least, or maybe it was a lot, but when you have a great team of Rotarians like we did, working towards the same goal, we couldn't lose. We had so many great people. First, we want to thank our sponsors, Kaiser, Mike Bohr, Fred Wilhelm, Market Share, Joseph George, Lila Gamelis. All the lovely art in our logos is from our local artist who has done all the murals around town too. And we have to thank our amazing volunteers. I wish we could name every one of you, but if you're present, please stand. And echoing Matt, if you're on Zoom, stand up. Our committee, we started back in January, and it was amazing. Our leadership team, unbelievable group. Our group and breakout session facilitators, thank you, Brian Adams, for setting up this team. Our airport volunteers, led by Steve B., Maggie Tadabani, and special thanks to Jeff Hare and Mark McKenna. Our hotel volunteers, our leader, Helen Lambert and Kathy Wiley, with volunteers and just working all three events, day and night, 15-hour days. Our venue hosts, Mike Block and the Davises, unfortunately didn't work out, the Davises, but oh my God, Mike, came through and it was seamless. Bill Shroud for History Park, and then our Capitol Club team, thank you, Sarah Janigan. And then
I had a Rotary moment because really half the club pitched in. If you didn't stand up if you helped. But half the club pitched in. I had a complete Rotary moment. Again, Audrey, Matt, and Sarah. Block party was fabulous. Julie Matsushima at the Play Garden was fabulous. Sal, you were just amazing. And let's see who else. Of course, Bert and Sal, really. And ultimately, Cindy, thank you very much. You did everything.
You, Carl.
You did everything.
Hey, we can't forget our marketing team. Elaine Sullivan was incredible, but I don't see anybody standing. So please, if you worked on LCC, please stand up right now. Please get up. Get up. You're awesome. Bert George, of course. And then we can't forget the face, the MC, Sal. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Seriously, that was a lot of fun, a lot of work. It shows what our Rotary Club can do, and I was thrilled that everyone had such a great time. Okay, we are running behind, shockingly. So I just want to quickly remind you, we've got the Rotary International Committee Annual Feast on October 7th at the Gordon House, if you haven't signed up for that yet. Next week, we will be doing Ring the Bell, so bring your good news and your $100. And we'll also be having a martini reception starting at 11:30. So some of you can figure out what that's about, but we'll let you know next week. So be prepared. Okay, so I would now like to introduce our program. We are going to be hearing from, and hopefully you saw their bios in the bulletin. We're going to be welcoming to the stage Shawna Lucey, who's the General Director of Opera San Jose, who started in January this year, and Robert Massey, General Director of Symphony San Jose, who joined the Symphony only last month. And they are going to be in conversation with, of course, our own James Williams, who is Managing Director and CFO of Opera San Jose, and will moderate the discussion. So James, Shawna, and Robert, if I could please ask you to join me on the stage.
Well, I think we're going to create a very exciting program for you today because these are two very dynamic people with exciting ideas. So I'll introduce each one as we sort of kick off the questions. So we're going to start with Robert Massey. So Robert, as was said, Robert officially joined in June of this summer, but arrived in San Jose, I believe, in the past month or so. Prior to taking on the leadership of Symphony San Jose this summer, Robert led major professional orchestras in Louisville, Kentucky, Jacksonville, Florida, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And at each of these organizations, he successfully expanded their audiences and improved the financial position. He's led major fundraising campaigns and introduced innovative new programming. Robert has been widely referred to as a thought leader and a change agent in the symphony world. Okay, so Robert, my first question is, so Symphony Board Chair and Rotarian Dick Conniff referred to the unique business model of Symphony San Jose as one of the reasons that you were attracted to joining the company. Could you explain that phrase and why it attracted you to Symphony San Jose?
Great, thanks, James. And you got the bio just as I wrote it, so
Oh.
thank you. No. I hope everybody realizes just what a unique company Symphony San Jose is. It operates as virtually the only orchestra in the United States that is led by a general director. So most orchestras have a music director who oversees the artistic side and an administrative executive director who oversees the business, fundraising, marketing, operations, cost. And while it looks great on paper, all too often you have a disconnect between what's needed in the community and how does the programming on stage tie to fundraising, marketing, and expenses. And so this has been our model for 20 years here in San Jose. It was something that I've always really believed in and was really excited to come and be a part of this. The two outstanding byproducts of this are, if we were to take, so all of our conductors on stage are guest conductors for us. And if we were to take all of those fees and pay one person a music director salary, we would get a music director, but let's just say that that tier would be here. By splitting that up for guest conductors, we're able to get 1 week from some really great guest conductors from all over the world. And so that tier goes up, which is great for the orchestra and is great for the audience. The other thing that I really love about the model is that instead of focusing your brand on one charismatic individual, often with big hair on a podium, you're able to shift to the 78 individual musicians that make up what is symphonic music. And I just really love that. I'm a huge fan of symphony orchestras, from symphonic music and the people that make it, so.
Great, thank you, Robert. So next I'll introduce Shawna Lucey, the new General Director of Opera San Jose. So Shawna has built a reputation over the past decade as one of the nation's leading opera directors. She has directed productions at many opera companies, including San Francisco Opera, the Metropolitan Opera, and Santa Fe Opera, as well as European houses. She is respected for bringing a feminist sensibility to classic operas and increased diversity, both on stage and off. Shawna is completing her master's degree currently in nonprofit management at Columbia University and began as general director at the beginning of this year. So we are very excited to have her with us in San Jose. So Shawna, it seems you have been preparing yourself for company leadership for several years. Why did you want to transition from being such a successful stage director to leading an opera company? What do you feel that you bring to the general director's office?
Thanks for that question, James, and thank you to each one of you for having us here today. I'm thrilled to be speaking with you all because, you know, I am fortunate enough to work every day with James, and he is an incredible colleague and asset to our organization. And one of the first places that I went to in San Jose when I moved here, I took my daughter to the Rotary Play Garden. And at, 11 months, she used the play garden to start working on walking. So thank you so much. And, I know the incredible work that Rotary does to increase civic engagement and really beautify and is a key member to, increasing civic engagement. So I'm thrilled to be talking to all of you about opera. And thanks for the question, James, because, I love opera so much. I come from a theater background. I wasn't an opera singer. I didn't know about opera until graduate school. And all of a sudden, I fell in love with this art form. Really, it's just phenomenal. It is one of the best parties you can go to. And I thought to myself, in all of my years of stage directing, I want more people to know what a great party we're having at the opera. And in thinking about that, when the pandemic hit, I lost all of my directing work. I was slated to go to Hawaii and direct Salome. So instead, I was sitting at home in New York and thinking, what should my next step be in my career? And so I joined this program at Columbia with the goal of becoming a general director of an opera company. In my days, I was fortunate enough to also direct at Opera San Jose as a stage director. I had a phenomenal time. I felt like this is a company where I could do my best work as a stage director for a community that really, really was engaged with the artwork. It's a very special audience that we have at Opera San Jose. And when the job became vacant, I threw my name in the ring, hoping to be chosen, and I was. And it's an incredibly thrilling next chapter for me personally as an artist, as somebody who loves and cares about opera and wants every person to know that they are welcome to come. You are invited. We want you at our party.
I think we should all, as San Joseans, be thrilled to have these two individuals joining us. But the title of this program today was Saving the Classical Arts. So we're going to talk about some of the challenges both of these organizations face. So Robert, my first question to you is, do you believe that instrumental music composed 100 to 300 years ago is still relevant to people today? How can you continue to make it relevant and an attractive form of entertainment?
That's a lot of weight. I feel like I'm answering on behalf of an art form. Obviously, I do, but I will explain why, because this has been my lifelong work. And I think back to, if you look at like the ancient Greeks, and their entire civilization, founded with grammar and rhetoric, communication, arithmetic, geometry, math, astronomy, science, and music. And this was a cornerstone of everything that they did from just an incredibly long time ago. And now we're talking about things like STEAM. The fact that we have to fight so hard to put the A back in STEM to get it to be STEAM is not a new conversation. It just amazes me. I was a young boy in 1977 when Voyager 1 was launched. And sent through space with basically a calling card of this is who we are as humanity. And it was the golden record. And on that record was Bach and Mozart, Beethoven, and Stravinsky. And I think that it was a very powerful snapshot. And so it was relevant then. I think it will always be relevant. I think the real question is, it's not about talking about the product, it's the packaging. And how do we adapt to that? 30 years ago, somebody in the media business probably would have said, our business is to sell newspapers. And if you hung on to that, you would be in trouble. But if you think about, okay, it's about creating content, engaging our community, you're able to keep your core mission alive. And so that's one of the things that I think performing arts organizations, and classical music in particular, is really having to grapple with. How do we stay relevant by looking at the packaging?
Thank you, Robert. It's a great response. Shawna, I'd like you to really answer a similar question, is how is opera still relevant and how will you make it relevant? But also in your answer, please explain to people here exactly what opera is, because most people have not been to an opera and they probably have misconceptions.
It's so true. That's a great point. So, opera, what qualifies as an opera? It is, music, theater of a certain complexity, right? Because a lot of us know musicals, being Americans, and musicals are incredible performing arts form. Opera is like a musical and then some, right? So we include the orchestra. Operas often include dance, and really the power of opera has to do with the human voice. Because musical theater often depends on amplified sound for the human voice, opera, I won't speak for modern opera, but classically, opera never relies on amplification. So an opera singer is singing to such an extent that you can enjoy their voice in conjunction with the orchestra. So it is quite an amazing talent. Opera singers, they're like Olympic athletes, the way that they train and prepare themselves, both with their mastery of foreign languages and their musicality and using their voice in order to tell these compelling, incredible works. And Robert, I thought your answer was just spectacular because I agree. You know, the rumor is opera is boring. Now, you know, that is too bad because those of us who know, we know that it's not. Most recently, I feel very proud to say that we at Opera San Jose just closed our new production of The Marriage of Figaro, which we set in colonial India during the British Raj. And this was a way in which we brought the material, we kind of grappled with the material, the power dynamics in the material, and were able to highlight some of our most talented and cherished South Asian artists in the operatic field. You know, one of the things that I feel I can speak for, you know, the art form in general for opera is that there is a new echelon of leaders, especially in the United States, emerging, who know that we have this reputation problem and that we need to really reach out to younger folks, to those who may have been excluded before, been told opera is not for you, and say, no, no, you're with us. Look, the artists on stage come from your community. The stories are relevant to your lives. Come and enjoy the power of music. Because I think something we can all agree upon is that there are moments in the human experience where words do not suffice, be it the wonderful, joyous moments of perhaps falling in love or a new life, a birth, or a death, or other tragedies. We can't explain what we're feeling in those moments. And our country has certainly traversed a multi-year tragedy. And only the power of music really can express what we are feeling in those times. And that's what we have to offer, is a collective experience for our community to traverse these stories together and be transported.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to get into tougher questions. And so since Robert began last time, we'll start with Shawna this time.
I work with James, so I'm used to the tough questions.
Okay, so a lot of people in the room may not know this, but several of the major local foundations, such as the Hewlett Foundation and the David and Lucille Packard Foundation, who traditionally fund these two organizations, have stated their intention to increase funding for cultural organizations led by and serving people of color and culturally related art forms, but also decreasing funding for Eurocentric arts, such as opera, symphony, and ballet. And these have served as major funders for these two organizations for decades. Shawna, what would be your response to those foundations if you could speak directly to their leadership?
Thanks for that question, James. Yeah, it's true. There is a major shift in foundational support for previously underserved artistic organizations. And that is a correct move. Some of those organizations labored without any kind of support, on a shoestring, forever, speaking directly to their communities. And you know, that is great that foundations are responding to this very critical need in our arts communities. But I feel that, for example, Opera San Jose, you know, we are very passionate about being an active community partner. And that looks a lot of ways, both on stage and off. Most recently, we partnered with Mosaic America, which is an incredible organization, and that is how we found our wonderful choreographer and cultural consultant, Antra. And in the spring, we partnered with Canta Children's Chorus, as well as the Flamenco Society. So we're both highlighting artists of various organizations from our community on stage at the California in the grand form of opera, which, really helps reflect both who is in our community in our operas. And then when we're not on stage, we are making sure to open our doors and support in other ways. For example, as soon as Figaro moved to the California Theater for our technical rehearsals, we opened up our rehearsal space for Teatro Visión, which is an incredibly important Spanish language theater here in San Jose. They have a theater to perform in, but no place to rehearse. So we at Opera San Jose, knowing we have a rehearsal space, made it possible for them to work there, provided multiple set pieces and other technical support for their work. And so what I want to say to our foundational partners is that, again, we at Opera San Jose, we may be a big artistic fish, right, in the pond, but we help keep a healthy ecosystem. And we know how we need to serve and partner so that all of these smaller art forms both receive our just practical support, but then really encouraging our patrons to experience their work as well. So offering some space in our program book, including them on our e-blast, making sure our patrons know, come to the opera tonight and go see Teatro Visión the next night.
Well, Robert, I know that you've just been with Symphony San Jose for a few weeks, but I'm going to throw the same question with you. So with this issue of decreasing funding for Eurocentric arts, how do you envision the Symphony addressing this major challenge to funding?
Yeah, no, thank you. I would agree, exactly with Shawna. This is a major issue, and I think that cultural institutions like the Symphony have a responsibility to be part of the solution. We have resources, whether it's not financial or vocal, influence. We can help amplify some of the voices that have been, underheard. And so I think, I too think that, from a collaborative standpoint, we have an incredible opportunity to kind of partner. I mentioned that golden recording on Voyager earlier. 7 of the 20-something tracks were classical music. So, there were more than a dozen that were not representing all sorts of cultures of music alone. So, I think there's a lot of incredible art out there in the world, and anything that we can do to bring that to the surface is important.
Great, thank you. Okay, so the next tough question, and we'll start this one with Robert. So Symphony San Jose has a very successful track record with their programs at the Center for Performing Arts, where the Symphony accompanies movie screenings, such as Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings. And these popular events have attracted 25,000 or more patrons annually and produced the majority of the company's earned revenue. Simultaneously, your classical music series have been stagnant or declining attendance. And it's not just Symphony San Jose that's experienced that. How do you envision leveraging the pop success of these other shows to benefit your traditional classical performances in the California?
That's a good question because, on the surface, you see a lot of that where, you're getting more audiences to movies, more ticket revenue, versus a traditional classical performance. The two things that I think about when I think of that issue is, it costs a lot more money to run a movie production. So the overall net balances out a little bit to a classical program. The other side is when we think of revenue, still about half our revenue comes from contributed sources, and the individuals who donate to the symphony orchestra are traditionally those from the classical audience. So if we look at the overall revenue per household, that classical household is still our core product. What I do find is really important is the fact as we look about diversifying and broadening our reach, things like POPs programs and movies offer a different product that really attracts a different audience. And I think as we look at how we're serving this community, it's not going to be the same thing to all people. We can offer a diversified platform and reach more people. It's similar to Coca-Cola. Not everybody drinks Coke, but you may drink tea or bottled water or a sports drink. And so looking at how we can get our programs out to serve the community, I think is a great way. Somebody who comes to Lord of the Rings may never come into the California Theater and see a Beethoven symphony, and that's okay. We're going to have a movie series that continues that engagement to that audience.
Thank you, Robert. Okay, Shawna, let's have a similar question. So, like most opera companies in the US, Opera San Jose has seen its audience gradually decline each year in the decade prior to the pandemic. And like all arts organizations, attendance took a sharp drop as a result of the pandemic. What do you see as some of the reasons for that gradual shrinkage over the prior decade, and how can you slow or reverse that trend at Opera San Jose?
That's, again, a great question, and I really appreciate what you said, Robert. You know, it's an interesting time in the performing arts, having had this closure for a few years, because we don't know what's going to happen. This has never happened before, right? That we had these years in which we didn't do any performing arts and it was not possible. So now we're going to remake the world based on hope, right? And so we have a great opportunity in many respects. You know, I do think a lot about remote work and what that has done for potential audience members and patrons, because those who are working at home now, where previously maybe the ask was, you finished your long workday, now come to the opera, seems like a lot. But if you spent your whole day working at home, you might think to yourself, my gosh, I got to get the heck out of here. And we want to be poised to snap those people up and say, that's right, get out of your home office and come to the opera. Come have a great time. You know, so in a way, we're kind of about to define, redefine, rediscover what our role potentially can be for people in their social lives. Again, because, you know, people talk a lot about Zoom fatigue. People talk about, you know, coming back together and socializing being a little bit tricky, what people's attention spans are in terms of engagement, you know, and I do think quite a bit about our role as the performing arts as being civic space, because in so many ways, the way algorithms are designed, they're meant to put you in a bucket. So nary buckets, you know, intermix. But maybe there's a common love of Mozart that can begin a more complicated civic conversation. So in terms of inviting our patrons back and growing our patron base, you know, we want to not only make sure we're serving our mission at Opera San Jose, which is about incubating opera's next great talents on stage and off, but we are about incubating opera's next patrons. So we have started experimenting with a couple of nights of performance where we have a date night, you know, coupon, and see if people are going to come out if there's a little discount and you get a cookie on your date. We're thinking about communities that we want to celebrate and say it's our Thursday night performance. We want to celebrate the LGBTQIA plus community. Have a discount and have a glass of champagne on us, right? So it's an exciting time because, you know, I don't know how it's going to mirror what happened before the pandemic. And I think we're about to find out.
Great, thank you both. So we're almost at the Q&A time, but I have one more question I want to throw out, and then either one of you and both can answer it. So you lead two important cultural assets for Silicon Valley who's are facing some major challenges, as we've discussed. So how can you two work together to better serve our community, provide new artistic programs, and possibly improve your own financial positions?
You've been here longer.
Well, Robert and I actually already, with James, had a cup of coffee to start talking about that very question. There are just some basic things that we feel we can do together to really serve the community. For example, coordinating our calendars to make sure that we are, you know, utilizing, because we share a lot of the same orchestra members, and we want to be able to really highlight our incredible orchestra that are here, talking about programming in advance, so that, you know, if we're really doing a ton of Mozart, is, you know, how does that affect the symphony? Having ideas about if the symphony wants to have a concert in the park that's free, can there be operatic programming because we've got some great singers, and here's the kind of things they're great at and what would be compelling. So I feel very excited to have a partner in Robert that we've already, you know, he's been here for just a few weeks and we've already had a cup of coffee and we're already starting to talk about that, because of course the essence of theater is collaboration. And so that will be key in defining the future of the performing arts.
Thank you. So we have 3 or 4 minutes for questions. There's Chris with the microphone.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Very good panel discussion. I used to be a subscriber to Opera San Jose during Irene Dallas and Larry Hancock. I was on the board for a little while. And what I remember about community, a community was built, we'd have a dinner before the opera, and we became a community in our own self. And I looked forward to it. And I even met David Packard at one point, waiting online for a drink. So, yeah, I won't tell you what happened with that. But anyway, I think he thought I was cutting in the line. But anyway, I wasn't. But to make a long story short, yeah, I do miss that. I miss that collaboration that we had. And I remember you, too, and you. Yeah, so are you thinking about that, perhaps, of bringing back that kind of dinner community and then on to the opera?
Thank you so much for that question. That is absolutely part of what we are trying to build or rebuild at Opera San Jose. You know, we, in this last series of the Marriage of Figaro, we created an Irene Dallas donor lounge for some of our most cherished contributors. And the thing about that lounge experience that I took away from as the most important was watching our community mingle with each other. And I saw people who hadn't seen each other in many years catch up and have meaningful conversations. And you know what? I saw it happening in the lobby too. And it meant so much to me, because that's what I'm talking about civic space, right? And bringing people together to experience the power of music, but also each other, right? And enjoy their neighbors, enjoy their community. And that is definitely something that we at the performing arts do in a way that, you know, almost nothing else does besides maybe the San Jose Sharks.
Question. I'll try and be concise. As a boy, I had the immense opportunity to see an opera as a young boy, and I was astounded by the performance and the music and the passion. And then going through school, as I told my friends this, they always looked askew at me like, you're weird. What are we doing to indoctrinate the young to see this beautiful art form, and symphony as well?
Please go ahead. Well, I do know, you know, our flagship education program is ArtSpark. And we bring elementary students into the hall in the spring. And in March of 23, it's going to return for the first time since the pandemic. We opened up 2 days, 4 performances, and we've already filled the hall to capacity. So one of the things that we're looking for 24 is doubling that number of performances to engage more people, but more importantly, implementing a digital component to it so that it's not just reaching 10,000 elementary students, but really looking at the depth of that engagement, and so that it's ongoing throughout the year.
Yeah, it's a key part, and I think we left some flyers on the table. One of the things we're doing at Opera San Jose, we have this amazing Cinderella coming up with Alma Deutscher, who composed the opera when she was at the ripe old age of about 11, is returning to conduct at the age of 17. We are going to have a matinee performance that's pay your own age. So if you're 9, you pay $9. Come and see the opera. And it's, you know, it's a classic tale, but with a twist. It's in English. The music is beautiful. That's one of the ways, considering family programming, having students at dress rehearsals, having orchestra side-by-sides, absolutely opening our doors to families and children is something we're very passionate about.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Shawna, Lucey, Robert, Massey, and of course, James Williams. That half an hour flew by. Now, I know we're a minute over, but please stay seated. Bill Shroud has one more important announcement to make about an event coming up involving one of our most cherished club members.
Yes, they are. The Symphony opens up Saturday.
Thank you, Sal. So as Sal said, History San Jose fundraiser is this Thursday. It's the Valley of Heart's Delight. We are honoring Rod Deardan Sr. So we'd like everybody to come out. It's a special event for Rod. We finally finished our new exhibit in History San Jose at the Rod Deardan Trolley Barn about his career in public service. It's also a way to celebrate the future home of the Coyote Train Depot. It's going to be the newest building in History Park that we're bringing to put into our transportation section. So you can go online, take a look. If you could help us, that'd be fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. And again, I'd like to thank our speakers. In the vein of helping save the arts, we are making a contribution in your names to the San Jose Jazz Aid Fund, helping keep community musicians here working. So thank you. Next week, remember, Martini Bar, and we've got next week's speaker is Dr. George Fisher speaking on cancer, past, present, and future. Ring the bell, Martini Bar, and Dr. Fisher. Keep the good times rolling.